there, welcome to Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Braiden Bill, joined alongside my guy Spencer Hardenbergh. And Spencer, we're nearly 2 weeks into No Shave November, and I gotta say, I expected a little more from you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I wasn't really expecting a whole lot from me. I don't grow the best beard. It's kind of patchy. It's kind of patchy. Yeah. It's not very full. Kind of reminds me of that ASU defense that we saw on Saturday.
Ouch.
Our guy who was at the Rose Bowl, WCSN football reporter Chaz Frazier, had a first-hand view of that defense and has more on the game.
Welcome to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, where the Arizona State Sun Devils took on Josh Rosen and the UCLA Bruins in a big-time college football matchup where ASU was looking for its 6th win. Let's start off in the first quarter. Manny Wilkins to DeMario Richard for the 2-yard touchdown. It was his only one, but it was a big one as it gave ASU an early 14-0 lead over the Bruins. The Bruins would fight their way back into this game with a 1-yard quarterback keeper by Josh Rosen to tie things at 14-all in the second quarter, but Manny Wilkins on the next possession, he said, "Josh Rosen, you ain't the only one that can run it," and jumps over a couple of UCLA defenders to get in the end zone. That touchdown would give his team a 21-20 lead and Sparky some more push-ups heading into the half. But late in the third quarter, UCLA was rolling 5 plays for 72 yards, ends up with a Bolo Olaronfumi 2-yard rushing TD that gave his team a 34-24 lead. Now let's skip ahead to the fourth quarter action. Josh Rosen finds Jordan Lasley for the 22-yard touchdown that would ultimately give the UCLA Bruins the 44-37 victory over Arizona State. Following ASU's loss, head coach Todd Graham voiced his disappointment with the team's inability to convert in the red zone right here. In the third quarter alone, ASU was on the 11 and the 10-yard line twice, but they had to settle for field goals because they couldn't cash in on touchdowns.
You know, we ran the ball. I don't know how many. What would we average per run? I have no idea. We should have ran the ball in. We should have ran the ball in the end zone every time we got in the red zone. And we get behind the count and try to throw the ball and then kick field goals. Senior defensive lineman Tayshawn Smallwood mentioned how this loss was a gut check.
Man, there's no reason why we shouldn't have won this game. Yeah, man, the truth of the matter is, man, we didn't set that too often this season. But the season's not over. We still got 2 games left, man, 2 games that we plan on winning.
The Sun Devils will be back on the road as they travel up to Corvallis to take on Oregon State in a Week 11 matchup of some more college football. This has been Chaz Frazier reporting, Cronkite Sports.
The 2017-2018 college basketball season is still in its infancy, but Arizona State has already had to take on some roster changes. Just a few hours before the Devils opened up their season last Friday, word came out that Ramon Vila would be leaving the program. The official reasoning for his departure was due to playing time, according to head coach Bobby Hurley. But now from roster drama to actual hoop talk, I'm joined now by WCSN men's basketball analyst Rob Warner. And Rob, we're going to jump right in. The Idaho State game on last Friday, some under-the-radar players, some people you might not have known really stepped up for the Sun Devils. Who were they and what did they do so well?
Well, Braiden, there were 2 newcomers that really made an impact right away for ASU in the season opener. One was junior transfer from Iowa Western Community College, Daquan Lake. He had 24 points, 8 rebounds. 5 of those were on the offensive glass and really provided a powerful presence in the post that really hasn't been apparent in Bobby Hurley's time with the program. So if that can be a thing going forward for ASU, it would really be a huge positive. And then the 6th man off the bench was Remy Martin. He really had a great game, very efficient from the floor, going 6 of 8 from the field, 12 points. 5 assists, 4 rebounds, really provided a spark for ASU that it hasn't had. And if he can do that going forward, it's going to give some of the starting guards a time to get some rest.
As great as they were, ASU was kind of struggling through that first half. They were behind at the beginning and then tied it up ultimately with just under 7 minutes to go in that first half. They ultimately pulled away, though, and won by over 20 points. So what were they able to do to ultimately pull away from Idaho State?
What ASU was able to do so well, Braiden, was they were able to go on big runs. They went on a 12-0 run to end the first half, and Bobby Hurley mentioned this post-game and said one of the reasons they were able to sustain so many long drives was because of their ability to generate turnovers. The Sun Devils generated 11 turnovers from the Bengals in the first half. This is something ASU is going to need to do going forward, play with that pace, and do that by generating turnovers.
All right, and then third, big games coming up this weekend for Arizona State. San Diego State at home on Tuesday, and then Friday night against NAU. Give me some keys to the game, and then also give me some predictions.
Like I said just now, Braiden, it's going to be pace of play for the Sun Devils and taking care of the basketball. Those are 2 areas that ASU needs to win at. The guard play has been really great for Arizona State in the past year. It looked good against Idaho State this past week. Going forward against a tougher San Diego State team, it's going to be interesting to see how they can come out against NAU. I think ASU needs to have a convincing big win to show that this program is for real and is ready to contribute and face good teams in the Pac-12.
All right, and then one more question. A little bit of breaking news here. Kamani Lawrence will be out until Christmas with an injury. Had surgery today on a stress fracture, that is. So give me a little update and what kind of impact that has on this team.
Well, like you said, it looks like Kamani Lawrence might be out until around Christmas time. That could be really tough for the Sun Devils, as they would only have 7 scholarship players going against some of their toughest opponents in their non-conference slate, like Vanderbilt, Kansas, and then even when the Pac-12 schedule begins against Arizona. So if they only have 7 scholarship players for that time, it's going to be really tough for ASU to build some consistency as we head into the Pac-12 season.
Certainly something to keep an eye on. Rob, great stuff as always. Your insight is always fantastic.
Thanks, Braden.
After a solid season last year, which included being a top 5 team in the Pac-12 and falling just short to eventual champion South Carolina by just 3 points in the NCAA tournament, the ASU women's basketball team looks to take another step in their quest for a national championship this season. Their first game this past Sunday, a 32-point beatdown over UTSA, was certainly a step in the right direction. Alex Gall and Mason Kern have more on that game.
Thanks, guys. Alongside Mason Kern, I'm Alex Gall here at Wells Fargo Arena, where ASU women's basketball just won their first game of the season versus the UTSA Roadrunners. Mason, what did you see today, and what did the Sun Devils do well?
I think overall it was a very complete game for the Sun Devils. They definitely broke out in transition quite well, getting some easy steals and easy points off those steals, 14 in total. Defensively, they were very sound. They outscored UTSA in every single quarter, and that's definitely going to get it done in order to secure a victory. Very consistent overall. I think they can improve their three-point shooting, but other than that, it was a very, very sound game.
Yeah, and in the post-game press conference, Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne mentioned the contributions today of Kiana Ibis, who set a career high in points. Who are going to be the key contributors to this team this season, and how does today's game play into that?
Well, you mentioned Ibis. She definitely was a huge presence in the inside, finishing some easy baskets down low. But I also looked to Courtney Ekmark, the UConn transfer, and she is a player who can definitely stretch this offense. She's a very good shooter, but she didn't really show today, 0 for 4 from beyond three-point line, but that'll come over the course of the season. Sabrina Haynes as well. She has definitely gotten more consistent. She shot 2 for 3 from 3 today, so she is definitely a player who, if they're both working well, they're going to be a very dangerous team this year, this ASU team.
And ASU travels to face Fresno State next Wednesday. Mason, what do you think they have to work on as a point of emphasis for that game, and do you think they come out of there with a victory?
Well, Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne in the postgame presser mentioned that Fresno State, 1, is a very tough opponent, first of all, and 2, that Fresno State is a hard place to play at, and they are going on the road, as you said. But this ASU team, they're looking pretty good. They don't have any seniors this year, so it's kind of a unique opportunity for them to go on the road and show what they can do throughout the course of this season. If they play like they did today, get out in transition, be really sound defensively, I think they have a good chance of taking the W.
And once again, ASU travels to face Fresno State next Wednesday. But for now, from Wells Fargo Arena in Tempe, I'm Alex Gall. He's Mason Kern, Cronkite Sports.
The Arizona State women's hockey team won 2 games last season. This year, they've already won 3, and goaltender Jordan Nash-Bolden is a big reason why. The sophomore has faced 458 shots, saving 428 of them. That's the second most saves in the country and gives her a .934 save percentage. That ranks second in the nation amongst goalies who have faced more than 175 shots. With more, here's Nick Batters.
Thanks, Braden. Jordan and the Sun Devils host Midland this weekend, but first she agreed to stop by and chat with us for a bit. Jordan, thanks for coming on the show. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So first, I want to take you back. Before you came to ASU, how did you get into the sport of hockey, and how did you start playing?
I think I started when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I just remember wanting to be like the Coyotes, as weird as that sounds, because it was an NHL team. But when you're that young, it doesn't really click for you. So I think I wanted to do that, and I know it was a big thing among my friends when we were younger that people had the ice skating birthday parties, and I was never the kid that knew how to skate. I was always hanging onto the boards, or I had my parents tow me around, so thanks for that, Mom and Dad. But I got into pre-hockey, and everyone else went to figure skating, and it kind of took off from there, and I played 1 year as a right wing. I was a terrible forward. I think I had 1 assist and 2 penalty minutes in my career. It wasn't even my penalty. I got called for someone else's tripping. I remember this. And then a year later, I switched to goalie, and about 10 years later, I haven't really looked back.
Okay, so you started at the youth level. Now you're here at ASU. How did you get to ASU? How did you find out about the program and eventually get onto the team?
Yeah, I was looking at colleges like my junior and senior year of high school. I know at the camps they always tell you around that age group that you need to start looking at where you want to play. And so I was doing the whole scouting report and looking at teams' rosters, and I think it was mostly NCAA D3 I was looking at, and I emailed a bunch of coaches, sent out the highlight video, which is ridiculous now to watch, but nobody emailed me back, and it was kind of hard. And there was a period of time in which I thought that I might not play college hockey, and then about that time came the announcement. I don't remember where I read it, but it was somewhere that ASU was having a women's hockey team, and so I got in contact with Coach, and she came out to watch one of my games, and that's about it. I mean, I'm just grateful for them and for the whole coaching staff for giving me the chance to play.
So what you have going on at ASU is a pretty cool thing. Hockey in the West Coast is not popular. Women's hockey in general, it's rising in prominence, but it's still not there. How special is it to be a part of last year the inaugural team, and now the team's only in its second season? How cool is that to be a part of it?
That was really something special to be part of the inaugural team, to start things off on the right foot, to put the team on the map, as you will, and then to go from there. I think when I was growing up, there wasn't very much girls hockey. There were a couple travel teams, but they ended up disbanding pretty soon after I started playing, and so there wasn't a lot of an opportunity, and now it's pretty cool to be on the back end of that and see the girls growing up that we work with in our youth camps or that we volunteer with, and to have them look at us like we're those players that they want to emulate. So that's pretty cool for me.
I'd imagine that's a pretty cool feeling. Last year, the team played with 2 goalies. This year, you're the only healthy goalie. What is that like for you, being the only one in net all season?
I think mentally it's a lot of the same preparation. I don't really take the games any differently, and that was a big thing between Bree and I last year. Our dynamic was really awesome in that way, but I think physically, obviously, it was a challenge. And so this off season, knowing I was going to have to shoulder a lot of the workload, going in and putting in the time to get my legs stronger, to get over that fatigue, and I definitely saw a little bit of that this past weekend when we played 4 games in 3 days. So there was some soreness there, but after a couple days, you just get back into it and go right back into practice and work hard, and we're prepared for this week.
So you're the only goalie on the team, and Braiden mentioned it. You've played a big role on the team this year. What would you attribute your personal success to? I mean, second in the country in saves is pretty impressive, especially for someone your size.
Last year, there was a little bit of a period of time in which I was, for lack of a better word, soul searching to figure out what was going wrong, because I went into practice, the week of a game, and felt great, was stopping the puck, was seeing it, and then it just wasn't translating. So I think I sat back for a while. It seemed like it was the series when we went to Minnesota. We played them, we played Wisconsin, and just started to figure things out mentally. Going into that game where I had to tell myself that I had the confidence, and after a couple games, you really start to settle into it. And having that experience and having the preparation to go into those games and just sort of reinforcing the fact that I had the tools to go and be successful, and it seemed like that really turned things around. So trying to carry that forward into this year, because physically the tools are there, you just have to know how to use them.
Sure, and one of the biggest differences, if you look at last year to this year, not only do you really look like a different team on the ice, but your schedule is the polar opposite, essentially. You started the first 6 games at home, and 7 of the last 12 games are at home. What is it like? How much does it mean having such a home-heavy schedule and getting to play in front of your fans?
Yeah, last year was super road-heavy, so I think that definitely played a role in maybe a couple of the injuries we had toward the end of the year last year. Travel's fun, but a lot of travel really takes a toll on you. So this year it's been great, especially because a lot of the girls have family and friends here locally that come out to watch the games, and having that support is something really awesome. Even the game that we played against GCU, when you had some of the fans of the other team, just to hear that going back and forth was something really pretty cool. So that kind of gives everybody a little bit of an edge.
One of the trade-offs, though, when it comes to playing so many games at home, you share the rink at Oceanside with 3 other teams at ASU, one of them being the NCAA team. So you've had to play some late games, some games starting even at 11 o'clock at night. Andrew Bell and I coined the term ACHA after dark. Yep. What kind of a toll does that take on your body, and how does that affect the team playing so late sometimes?
I think really all that does is emphasize the importance of a pregame nap. You really have to get that time in, especially for those of us that have early morning classes on Friday. It seems like there's a lot of downtime during the day, but going into it essentially the same way, just relaxing before the game and then settling into it. And it kind of stinks because there's nothing open for food after the game, so you're kind of left to fend for yourself there. But
so you have 10 games played so far, 12 left going forward. What should fans expect from the team the rest of the way out?
I think we had a really strong start against some teams that were really pretty good, and looking at the rankings, a couple of the teams we played in Colorado were pretty high up there. So being able to stick with them, and last weekend, was hard for us, but I think we're regaining that confidence going forward, and some of our next opponents, we're very familiar with them. We've seen Midland, we see GCU, and we've seen a lot of them. So I think knowing how to prepare for those teams and go into those games with a lot more confidence. I know a goal for us this season was to get somewhere around 500 in our win percentage, or push that and be even better. So I think we're close to hitting that mark, and as far as the talent in the locker room goes, there's no shortage of that there, and we're one win out of a playoff bid. So getting that over with, as soon as we can, and focusing on the next stretch of the season is something that's really important.
So the team is one win away from a playoff bid, and it's worth noting, while they haven't actually made it to the top 15 ACHA rankings, the ASU women's team has been ranked every week so far in the rankings, but I'm going to take it off the ice a little bit. Those who follow you on social media might have seen some pictures of you in a Ghostbuster costume. Tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, so it started out just I wanted to go to Comic-Con and threw something together for that, but I met a group there and joined up, and so I'm a member of the Phoenix Ghostbusters, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So essentially we just go out in the community, we volunteer our time, our presence, full uniform or whatever they need from us, just to come out and raise awareness or raise money for different charity organizations in the Valley. And we just wrapped up this weekend at FanFest, but we've worked with a lot with Kids Need to Read, or we did Hope Walk a couple months ago, things for the MS Foundation, just great causes. So I get to be a giant nerd, but I get to be a giant nerd for a good cause. So
always a good time. Now, before I let you go, we have to talk gear. Your mask is pretty recognizable, very noticeable. It has the flames all over it, and then the ASU with the chin. And then this weekend for the military game, you have a special little military helmet that you got. What goes into the design of a helmet for you?
So I got my main mask, which is the one with the flames on it. That one was painted by Baker Boys in Edmonton, and it was kind of set up through an acquaintance of my dad's through work that he knew the painter, and so we sent it off, just the raw shell essentially. And the funny thing is, I had no idea what was going to be on the mask when I got it back. I didn't have any input into that whatsoever. We sort of gave them full creative liberty on it, which made me a little bit nervous. But I think the only question they asked me was whether I wanted my nickname or my number on the mask, and so you have, Jobo on the back plate, and that was kind of a personal touch. But essentially, it was a couple weeks of waiting. It was probably longer than that. It felt like longer than that. And I just remember the day that I got the pictures from my dad when he got it back, and he sent them to me from his hotel room, and it just looked amazing. But it's another thing entirely to hold that in your hands in person, and it's really just a work of art. So I love that. And then for the military game, I turned my practice mask into this. So essentially I just got creative this weekend, went to the store, got some camouflage duct tape, threw that on there, and tried not to go overboard, because you can go a little bit overboard on the camouflage, but I do want them to be able to see me a little bit. So
that's fair. It may be a little tough to see the team on the ice. They're wearing camouflage military jerseys as well. Now, the women host Midland this Friday and Saturday. Puck drop on Fridays at 7:30 p.m. and Saturday's puck drop is at 6:30 p.m. To follow the ASU women's hockey team all season long through every win and loss, check out cronkitesports.com. Click on that women's hockey tab. Jordan, thank you again for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It has been a crushing season for Sun Devil volleyball. Going 0-16 in Pac-12 play with just 4 games remaining after a promising 10-2 non-conference start can be incredibly frustrating, especially for a young team. Luckily for the Devils, their trio of senior leaders have been able to make the bumpy road a little smoother.
It was a somber feeling in Wells Fargo Arena Saturday night as the Arizona State volleyball team lost a closely contested 5 sets to Oregon State in what was the senior class's final match on the home floor. The Sun Devils honored 3 players on senior night, and despite playing what was a relatively clean game for a relatively young team, the Sun Devils ended up losing their 16th straight match. Despite that, the team has been trying to stay positive, seeing the L's on the schedule not as losses, but as lessons, and the senior class has played an important role in helping maintain team unity through tough times.
We've all been grinding together. It's not like we're losing separately, So we've been just leaning on each other in the tough times when it's been getting hard. So whenever, of course, everyone's going through something together, it brings you a lot closer, just in life with your relationships with your friends or anyone. It always brings you closer. So I think that's what's been happening with us a lot.
Among the seniors honored on Saturday was libero Hallie Harker, who at 1,947 career digs ranks 3rd on ASU's all-time list. But beyond just being a defensive specialist, Harker has become the voice of this team in her 4 years at Arizona State.
She is our vocal leader,
but also just our physical leader on the court. Anybody who watches Sun Devil volleyball and doesn't know anything about volleyball knows that Hallie Harker is the leader and that our girls look up to her.
Another player who took the floor for the final time in Tempe is senior middle blocker Oluma Akaro. She's become the offensive focal point in her 2 years with the Sun Devils and has tied the program record for kills in a single game.
She's an animal. She can attack the ball. She can hit it like no one else in the gym, and she brings a lot of great things physically to our team that if we didn't have her, I think we would struggle a little bit because she is a great outlet for us.
Despite losing its 16th consecutive match, the impact that this senior class has had on the ASU volleyball program was felt tonight, just as it has been throughout their entire careers as Sun Devils. Reporting from Wells Fargo Arena, I'm Troy Tauscher, Cronkite Sports.
It's now time for Sun Devil Social Media, a segment where we examine the beautiful world of Twitter. Today it's a special day as we have a couple of newcomers joining us for the first time on this segment. Our social media guru, Chancellor Johnson, and then you might recognize this face. Jordan Nash Bolden is back with us. Chance, Jordan, thanks for being here.
I'm excited to make my debut on the show alongside Jordan. I guess you can say we're the rookies on the show today.
Get ready for some hazing.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's coming.
We'll see if there's any Rookie of the Year contestants. We'll see what tweet you got first.
Absolutely. All right, so this first tweet comes from ASU Superfan. I think we've all seen him before. You can normally find him with the long hair and sitting front row. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it is shirtless Q. He said, ASU football is in need of a culture change on all levels. Going to be hard explaining my donations to my future wife if we stay being content with mediocrity. Braiden, let's fast forward to the future, all right? Okay. ASU is staring down another 500 season. Can they expect any ASU alumni donations from you?
Well, I'm poor, so no, that's not going to happen. Maybe like 20 years down the road we'll think about it, but right now I can barely afford food.
Yeah, you know, if they're winning national championships, they can't expect donations from you. But for this guy, definitely mediocrity is not going to continue to cut it for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so this next tweet comes from ASU skipper Tracy Smith. Now, let me give you a little context here. Recently, his player at S8E10 tweeted out, "Happy birthday to the best girlfriend out there. Love you. Hope you're having a great day."
Really nice.
Now, yeah, it's really very nice, right? Yeah. And he tweeted and said, "Quit being selfish at S8E10. Happy birthday to the best girlfriend at Jess Tu Wong from all of us at ASU Baseball." Now, Jordan, you're a student athlete. How would you feel about your coach giving your significant other a little birthday love?
I don't know. I mean, Coach doesn't really stay on Twitter that much, but I think I'd be a little weirded out about it. I don't know.
Spencer, you feeling it?
I mean, it's a family, man. They're really emphasizing that. That's for
They're forcing that. I don't know, man. I'd be a little creeped out. I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that.
All right, absolutely. Now, Jordan, I couldn't bring you out on the show without pulling one of your own tweets. And before I show it, I have to ask you: are you feeling better? Because let me show you your tweet.
Fine.
All right, so this was from yesterday. I need you to explain this one to me. All right. So Jess had a Phoenix police officer use his in-car PA system to yell, "Who you gonna call?" at me as I cross the street in full gear. I have suffered a heart attack.
All right,
what happened there?
I didn't realize how loud those were because I've never been pulled over, but hopefully it stays that way. But I was coming back from Fan Fest. We were working that. I was in full Ghostbuster gear, and I had to cross in front of him. I saw him eyeballing me out of the corner of my eye. I was like, I don't know if he's gonna do anything. But the second I got in front of his car, he went really loud into the microphone, and I probably jumped about a foot in the air. I think I waved at him. He was trying to be nice, but it scared me half to death. It took a couple years off my lifespan.
I think you recovered well. I think I would have done probably the same thing. So thank you, Chance. Thank you, Jordan, both you guys for being here. Now let's send on over to Paige Burnell, who's going to let us know how ASU is faring on the mats.
ASU wrestling may be ranked number 6, but they did not hold up against number 3 Michigan and number 2 Ohio State on the road to start the season. Both matches were ultimately losses for the Sun Devils, as the final score against Michigan was a narrow 21-18 loss, and against Ohio State, 31-12. However, there were noteworthy individual performances to start the year. All-American redshirt sophomore Zahid Valencia had a 4-2 and a 9-4 victory this weekend, respectively. Valencia remains undefeated, just as he was for all of last season. Fellow redshirt sophomore Josh Shields is undefeated as well, after winning 4-3 and 7-4 this weekend. Shields is on quite the roll, as he also took first place on November 5th at the Michigan State Open. Ali Nazier, one of the team's 2 seniors, also grabbed the title at the Michigan State Open as he finished 3rd. He had an individual 7-5 win on Sunday against Ohio State as well. ASU wrestling does not have any wins, but has a tough 2-game road trip behind them and will host their first home match against number 23 Pittsburgh next Sunday. Now, back to you guys at the desk.
Now we're going to go from the mats over to the ice and welcome in men's hockey analyst Bree Peters. Bree, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Spence. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So now ASU, they're now 10 games deep into their season. They've only been able to manage 2 wins and 2 ties. What's been holding them back from success at this point?
It's hard to pinpoint where exactly they've been struggling, but I would have to say they have a hard time being aggressive. You know, they need to come out there a lot more strong than they have been. You know, they're 10 seasons to 10 games into the season so far. You know, they have the capability to be up there against some of the top competitors like they've seen against Colgate and we've seen against Air Force, and we've seen them be that competitive against Alabama Huntsville. But the problem is they're only being that aggressive for 20 minutes versus the full 60 minutes like their competitors. Next weekend they're playing Penn State, and if they want to have any shot at winning, they need to be aggressive for the full 60.
Now, staying on Penn State, they're pretty high ranked at 19 right now. So going into a tough weekend, what can they expect from a team like Penn State?
Penn State is easily one of the most fierce competitors they will be playing all season. They are fast, they are aggressive. The closest competitor they have even played against that so far this year has been Air Force, who hit every shot very hard, who is hitting every forecheck a lot harder. You know, Penn State, they're going to be a fast and aggressive team. They're going to be playing the puck very well. They're going to be playing smart, and they're going to be playing efficiently.
So what does ASU need to do really what's the biggest key to win against Penn State, or compete at least?
They need to get the puck past Peyton Jones. Peyton Jones is their sophomore goaltender who already has 5 wins on the board for them, who already broke Penn State's record for the most wins in a single season last year. If they want to have any shot at winning, they need to cut back on the penalties, take advantage of their power plays, and make a conversion on the power plays to get the puck past Jones and into the back of the net.
You heard it here first. Thank you very much for being here, Bree.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn back and talk a little bit more football. So for that, we've got Jacob Cabazudo with an update on the ever-changing Pac-12 Conference.
Thanks, guys. Entering the home stretch in the college football season, just when we thought the Pac-12 was taking shape, an upset rocked the North. Washington State now sits atop the North as formerly ranked number 9 Washington fell to unranked Stanford 30-22 on Friday night, as Heisman hopeful Bryce Love rushed for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. Although the Conference of Champions likely won't be represented in the college football playoff, Love and USC quarterback Sam Darnold are both Heisman frontrunners. Darnold led the Trojans to a 38-24 victory over Colorado to clinch the Pac-12 South on the strength of over 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Behind them in the South is Arizona, who's coming off a convincing win against Oregon State, 49-28. Tate's sanity continued as the Wildcats quarterback Khalil Tate only needed 7 passing attempts to dispose of the Beavers. His work was mostly on the ground, racking up 206 yards and 2 of the Cats' 7 rushing touchdowns. ASU rests at 3rd in the division after losing a shootout to UCLA, thanks to a late touchdown pass by Josh Rosen that put the Bruins up for good. With 2 weeks left in this upset-filled roller coaster of a season, we are bound to see more sudden twists and turns. Braiden and Spencer, back to you.
Thanks, Jacob. Now it's time for The Way It Is. Spencer and I will have 3 questions and debate our answers. Whoever has the most compelling argument wins. Simple enough.
Simple enough for a simpleton like me, yes.
Smart guy. All right, number 1, let's jump right into it. Who has more yardage this Saturday against Oregon State? DeMario Richard rushing or N'Keal Harry receiving?
I think they're both going to have breakout games. Oregon State has not proven to stop anyone this year.
Pretty bad, yeah.
But I'm going to go N'Keal just because don't bet against that. Don't bet against that guy.
I agree with what you said, that they're
beast.
both going to have big games, but DeMario Richard, man, that man has been outstanding as the season's gone on. I think he's going to go for over 150 yards. That's my bold prediction of the week, so keep an eye on that.
All right. Pushing 200 would definitely be something the Sun Devils would like.
Would.
Now, over to the basketball court. Ramon Villa just departed from the team. That is now the 5th departure under Bobby Hurley. Is this a concern to you?
No. Relax, guys. Just relax. It's okay. Ramon Villa, he's leaving the program, like you said, and it is a loss, but this happens in college basketball, especially with the state college basketball's in right now. Transfers come in a lot, so it is what it is.
You know, I think it is of concern. You know, that's 5 guys now under Bobby Hurley. You never want these kids leading the program, and now that's up to 5. I think that is a little concerning for Hurley and for ASU basketball fans.
Fair enough. All right. 3rd, this might be our best question of the semester. Really hard-hitting journalistic question. Is a hot dog a sandwich? First, how about this graphic?
Love it.
Wow.
Absolutely love it.
I mean, fantastic.
Incredible work.
I want to hear your take here. Hot dog, is it a sandwich or no?
No, absolutely not a sandwich. So you're you know, nice family dinner. You're at Ruby Tuesdays. Man, I want a sandwich. I'm looking through the sandwich section on the menu. Do you see hot dog in the sandwich section?
They just don't serve hot dogs. I mean.
They do now, and it's not in the sandwich section, I'll tell you that right now.
That's a very poor logic, but I have always been like you in saying no, but I'm switching here today on this show. Breaking news, folks. A hot dog is a sandwich. Right. Webster's dictionary says it is, and then you got to think about it this way. A meatball sub. It's essentially the same thing. It says sub. It's a sandwich.
It's not a grill item though. Hot dogs and burgers, grill items, not sandwiches.
Oh, let's see. I could destroy you. Kebabs? Is that a sandwich? I mean, come on, man. I could destroy you.
Absolutely
not. So,
all right. So
you're wrong. I'm right.
That was clearly the hard-hitting question of the week.
It was. Now we wait for Nick Batters to tell us who wins, and this is a tough decision. It really is going to come down to his opinion on hot dogs.
It's going to come down to his hot dog take, I think.
Waiting on this. A lot of pressure riding on this right now.
Building up.
Oh my
It's not a sandwich.
How?
What's that? Yep. Thank you, Nick.
I will argue this until
Thank you
the day
so much.
I die.
We'll have this after the show. There's a time and place, Braiden. All right, you got a feel for this ASU volleyball team. The word unlucky is often a disingenuous term, a white lie almost, said to make people feel as if they deserve something that they didn't get, even if they weren't deserving. Not in this case. This is a team that is not a team that deserves 16 and counting straight losses. Aluma Okaro has the second most kills and second most points in the Pac-12. Nicole Peterson has the most number of assists. Hallie Harker has the most digs, 87 more than the next closest person. This is a team made up of talented players that simply haven't been able to put together a full match of winning volleyball. No one thought they'd be champions of the Pac-12 this season, but 0-16 is very disappointing and unlucky, and that's the way it is.
Time for top plays. What says college basketball like a nice poster dunk? Rich homie Daquan Lake throwing it down. Boom! Oh my goodness gracious, that was raw. Very mean, and I feel bad for the Idaho State defender.
Breaking out the toolbox with that hammer. We saw some power with number 3. Now let's do a little poise with number 2. Sabrina Haynes, dish outside, and 1. Give her that 4-point play.
I'll take a number 4 with fries on that one.
Ruby Tuesdays?
Not a big Ruby Tuesdays.
They don't serve hot dogs, but they are dishing out 4-point plays over here.
Sabrina
Great job,
Haynes,
Sabrina.
She's balling out there, man. She's fantastic.
Big
All right,
win for ASU.
Number 1, no surprise to anyone. Air Manny at the Rose Bowl, one of the biggest stages in college football. Manny Wilkins hurdles into the end zone for a touchdown. We've seen the hurdles a lot over the past 2 years. First time it's ended up in a touchdown. There's a slow-mo look. Wow.
Looking like Super Mario out there, huh? What do you think that moment's like when the person just goes in for the tackle and then just catches air?
It's got to be pretty embarrassing.
That's got to be pretty embarrassing.
Especially when photos are circulating. It went viral. Not a good feeling.
Manny added another to his collection of excellent hurdles.
Yeah.
So we hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be back the same time next week. Different guys, same show though. So thank you guys so much.